It was one of those nights where nothing's really happening, but you still find yourself staying out too late anyway. We'd left some party near FAMU. Half the people there were already gone by the time we showed up. The music was too loud, beer too warm, and the only food left was half a box of Little Caesars someone dropped on a couch. Me, Leo, Zoe, and Drew ended up leaving around 12:45. Nobody was drunk, just kind of buzzed and full of that loose, nothing matters energy. Drew had borrowed Leo's old mountain bike to get there, said it beat paying for an Uber. We headed to the Wendy's on University, figured we'd grab something before calling it. It was past 1 a.m. when we got there, one of those humid Tallahassee nights where your shirt sticks to your back and the streetlights glow like bug zappers. The place was almost empty. One guy inside half asleep at a booth, a couple employees behind the counter just going through the motions. We ordered, ate, talked about finals, bitched about how broke we all were. Drew tried to get Zoe to rate his Spotify playlist. Leo told a story about the time he got caught plagiarizing a philosophy paper freshman year. Everyone laughed. It felt like any other late-night college stop. Dumb. Easy. Until we stepped back outside. Leo stopped first. He just stood there staring at the bike like he couldn't figure out what he was looking at. The front tire was slashed clean through. Spokes bent out like they'd been kicked. Handlebar grips were torn up. Something sharp had scraped across the metal. Deep. On the pavement, next to the back wheel, was a used lighter. Still warm when Drew picked it up. None of us said anything. We didn't need to. That's when we noticed the guys at the picnic table near the lot. 3 of them, maybe early 20s, smoking. One of them, tall, camo jacket, leaned forward and muttered, not loud but clear enough, "Tell your boy to stop ducking calls next time." Drew froze. Zoe glanced at me. Leo just said, "Low. Let's go." And we left. No questions, no arguing, just walked. We walked in silence most of the way back. Leo pushed the bike with one hand, even though the tire barely turned. It kept catching on the frame, grinding. Nobody offered to help. Drew walked behind us, not saying a word. You could feel it off him. His shoulders were tense, head down, like he was hoping nobody said what we were all thinking. We got back to the dorm around 2:40. The common area was empty. Zoe finally broke the silence. "All right," she said, standing in the middle of the room. "Who were they?" Drew didn't answer right away. Just rubbed the back of his neck. "Just some guys. I've bought from them before. Weed, that's all." "So what, you owe them money?" Leo asked, flat. Drew let out a short breath. "I was supposed to pay him like a month ago. $30. I kept putting it off. Then I blocked the number. I figured it'd blow over." Leo laughed. Just once. No humor in it. "So you use my bike and they trash my stuff to send a message?" "I didn't think they'd go that far, man." "Number you didn't think at all." Zoe crossed her arms, then dropped them, frustrated. "Jesus, Drew, we hang out there. You didn't think to, I don't know, warn us?" "I didn't know they'd do something like that," he said again, quieter this time. No one said it out loud, but we were all thinking the same thing. What if we had come out earlier? What if they hadn't just gone for the bike? Leo just shook his head. He looked tired, more than mad. "Forget it. I'll fix it," Drew said, almost to himself. "Doesn't matter," Leo said, turning away. And that was it. We all went to our rooms. Didn't talk about it again. For the next couple of weeks, things just shifted. Leo ghosted the group chat, didn't show up to Taco Tuesdays, didn't come to study sessions, stopped liking posts on Zoe's Instagram. We didn't talk about it, just let him drift. Drew tried acting normal, but you could tell something was off. He'd flinch a little when his phone buzzed, started carrying pepper spray in his jacket, always looked over his shoulder walking across campus. Zoe deleted a bunch of her old posts, anything with locations tagged. She got real quiet in class. I think she was scared, honestly. Not that something would happen to her, but that we were already too close to whatever this was. Me? I stuck around Drew for a little longer than the others. Maybe because I felt bad. Maybe because I didn't want him to be alone with it. But even I started to back off. You can't sit next to someone once you stop trusting them. Not really. And none of us ever went back to that Wendy's. 3 weeks later, it was almost summer. The heat had gone from annoying to oppressive, and everyone was just trying to make it through finals. I was in our media class. Early morning, low energy. Drew was there too, sitting one row ahead, hood up. Zoe was across the room. Then I saw him. The guy from the Wendy's lot. Same face, same cold stare. He walked into the lecture hall like he'd done it 100 times. Sat 2 rows behind Drew. No bag, no notebook. Just a paper cup of coffee. He didn't say a word, didn't look around, just sat. Drew must have felt it because he turned, saw him. The guy smiled. Not big, just enough. Like he was letting him know. Still here, still watching. Drew didn't show up to that class again. We never told campus security, never filed a report. There wasn't anything solid to report, really. A slashed tire, a look, a smile. But all of us felt it. Every day. Leo transferred out the next semester, said it was for personal reasons. We didn't ask. Zoe dropped most of her in-person classes, started carrying mace, stopped staying out after 9. Drew moved into a different dorm. I think he thought if he changed location, the tension would follow someone else. Me? I still walk past that Wendy's sometimes. I don't go in, don't even look at it too long. But I think about that night every time I see a bike chain or a stranger watching too closely. There's no headline, no crime report. Just a weird, slow fallout none of us really processed. All because one guy thought he could ghost a $30 debt. The smallest choices can leave the biggest cracks. A little silence, a little lie, a little, it's not a big deal, that's all it takes. When you don't own your actions, someone else ends up carrying the weight. Sometimes a tire, sometimes a friendship, sometimes something worse. The day started normal. If you'd told me it would end with my daughter in a hospital bed and my wife packing an overnight bag, I would have thought you were crazy. But that's the thing, right? Nothing ever feels like a breaking point when it starts. It's just one more Saturday. One more stop for cheap food and half-hearted small talk. Marissa had been laid off 2 weeks earlier. Marketing, department-wide cuts. She handled it the way she handles most things. Quiet, sharp, and trying to keep everything looking fine from the outside. But I could feel her slipping, like she was always somewhere else. So I offered to take her and Lena out. Just a simple family outing. Something easy. Familiar. We ended up at Wendy's. I figured it was harmless. Lena loves their chicken nuggets, and I didn't want to make anything worse by picking some fancy place she wouldn't want to be at. Willow Creek Plaza was packed. Soccer moms in yoga pants, dads with Bluetooth headsets, toddlers throwing fries. The whole place smelled like salt and sugar and spring. We sat near the back. Lena played with the ketchup packets while Marissa scrolled through her phone. I tried not to take it personally. Lena giggled while mixing all the dipping sauces together into what she called chicken potion. I remember thinking, God, I needed this. Just 1 hour where no one's mad, no one's crying, no one's worried about mortgage payments or resumes or who left the laundry in too long. She didn't even finish the nuggets. And none of us could have known that something so simple, so stupid, was already inside her, waiting to ruin everything. At 8:47 p.m., Lena threw up in the hallway. She said her tummy hurt. I figured it was too much sauce. Kids get weird with food. We cleaned her up, sat her on the couch, and put on cartoons. Marissa barely said a word, just watched. 20 minutes later, Lena was on the bathroom floor, crying between dry heaves. Then the fever came. At the ER, the doctor said it was foodborne. Likely chicken. Marissa looked at me the second he said it. This sharp, tired look like she'd been expecting it somehow. Like she'd already decided this was on me. We didn't fight. Not really. Just drove home in silence. The kind where even turning on the radio feels wrong. When we got home, I laid Lena down in her room with a cool towel. Marissa stood in the doorway, arms folded. You always go for convenience. What does that mean? It means you pick what's easy, every time. It's always fast food or skipping the oil change or saying it'll work out instead of doing something. I didn't answer. What could I say? She went to the guest room, closed the door behind her. I stayed up on the couch, staring at the Wendy's receipt. It was still in my pocket. Crumpled, sweaty, time-stamped, like evidence. Sunday morning I called the Wendy's. Got transferred twice before someone who called herself store leadership answered. She didn't sound older than 20. Sir, we follow strict FDA guidelines. The chicken's pre-cooked and temp-checked. It might have been something from your home. She was fine before that, 6 years old. You think it came from our fridge? We serve hundreds of people a day. Click. I didn't even yell. I just hung up and sat in the garage for a while, looking at the receipt again like maybe I missed something. A warning sign. Some red mark telling me, don't do this. Later, I emailed corporate, sent the timestamp, our order, the location. I attached a picture of Lena's hospital bracelet. They got back 2 days later with a canned response. We've reviewed the situation and found no violations. The issue was likely unrelated to our store. Nothing. Not even an apology. Marissa didn't say, I told you so. But she didn't need to. That night, Lena asked if we were still a together family. Her words, still together. I told her yes. I wasn't so sure. The next Friday, Marissa packed a small bag. Just one. She said she needed a few nights at her sister's. Space, she called it. It's not just the food, she said, standing by the door. It's everything. It's how you handle things. Or don't. You're leaving because I picked the wrong lunch spot? I'm leaving because you never listen until something breaks. She kissed Lena goodbye. Didn't kiss me. I tried to stay calm, for our daughter. Told myself it'd blow over, that she just needed a weekend. But that bag looked practiced, like it wasn't the first time she'd packed it in her head. After she left, I sat in the car. Glove box open, receipt still there, folded once, then again. It didn't say chicken nuggets, it just said kids meal, like it didn't even matter what it was. Lena bounced back in 3 days. Kids do that, bounce, recover, forget. But I could feel something different in the house. Not empty, just off balance, like something shifted and we were all pretending it hadn't. Marissa came back that Sunday night. She didn't unpack the bag, just left it by the closet. We didn't argue, we didn't hug. We just moved around each other. Quietly, politely, like roommates. We still haven't gone out to eat since. I still haven't thrown away the receipt. Some part of me wants to keep it, not as proof that Wendy's screwed up. Not anymore. As proof that I did. Sometimes it's not the mistake, it's how many you made before it. The little shortcuts. The choices you made when no one was looking. They pile up. Until one day something snaps, and you learn too late that the real damage wasn't food poisoning. It was trust. People think things only go wrong when the day starts badly. Like the air shifts, or something breaks early on, a spilled coffee, missed call, wrong tone. But this day was just regular. I worked a normal shift, checked some emails, sent a few half-hearted texts to Rena between meetings. We'd argued that morning, something about the dishes, I think. Not even yelling, just quiet sharpness, the kind that sits between two people all day like a weight neither of you wants to lift. Around 7:30, she texted, "Still mad? I'm sending you dinner, just chill till I get home." I smirked. That was her way of apologizing. Not with the words, but with something warm and salty in a paper bag. An hour later, the doorbell rang. It was a Wendy's bag, a double-stack combo, Coke with no ice. Exactly how I liked it. And the guy holding it, early 20s maybe, skinny, shaggy hair under a red cap. He just nodded when I opened the door. Appreciate it, man, I said. He lingered a second longer than usual, then said, You got a nice setup in there. I glanced behind me, TV on, fan going, couch blankets a mess. I laughed. It's a mess, dude. He just smiled. I used to live in a place like this. Pasadena Heights, right? I nodded, a little confused. You went to Arroyo? He nodded again. Last year, poli-sci. That clicked. I remembered him vaguely. The kind of face you recognize but can't name. Something about the conversation felt harmless. Lazy, like we were both too tired to pretend we were strangers. You want to come in for a sec? It's hot out. He stepped inside, and that was my mistake. He didn't stay long. At least that's what I told Rena later, and what I believed for a while. He stepped in, stood by the door, made a few jokes about how expensive it was getting around Pasadena without a car. I offered him a water. He declined. Then he asked about the apartment layout. Just casual stuff. Said it reminded him of his old place. Asked if I'd always lived alone. I remember thinking, he talks too much for a delivery guy, but I was tired, hungry, and more focused on the burger than the weird vibe. He left a couple minutes later, said, Thanks again, and walked out like nothing. I ate, sat back, watched something on Hulu. Next thing I remember clearly is Rena's voice yelling my name, like a siren underwater. She found me on the floor, curled up, disoriented. I must have thrown up at some point. The smell was thick and sour. My limbs didn't work right. Couldn't stand. Couldn't even speak clearly. Next stop was the ER. I spent the night on fluids and nurses checking my pulse like I was already half gone. Blood work came back in the morning. High traces of benzodiazepine. They said I was lucky. Someone drugged my food. Maybe a drink. Rena just sat beside the bed, her hands trembling so bad she had to hold her coffee with both of them. Neither of us spoke for a long time. But something inside me, this voice I'd never heard before, just kept whispering, Why did you let him in? The cops asked the usual questions. Did I know the guy? Had I seen him before? Was anything stolen? And weirdly, no again. Nothing was missing except my phone, which had been lying on the kitchen counter plugged in and charging. Not my wallet, not my laptop, just my phone, which made it worse somehow. Rena remembered him. Not from school, from Instagram. A few months back, she did a group project for a media class. Afterwards, some guy she barely remembered messaged her, said she seemed cool. She didn't answer. He messaged again a week later. She said she had a boyfriend. He didn't respond again. Until that night, she pulled up the DM. Same name, same profile pic, same guy. It hadn't clicked when he delivered the food. The hair was longer, maybe thinner, but now she was certain. The apartment complex had hallway cams. Security pulled the footage. There he was, 9:12 p.m., red hat, Wendy's jacket. Entered my door, stayed 12 minutes, left calmly. He never returned to work. Wendy's app showed the order was reassigned that night due to a system error, which meant the guy had seen her name, our address, our phone numbers, and walked in like it was a second chance. I didn't sleep much after that, even after the police took our statements, even after they checked our locks and said, keep us updated if he reaches out again. That phrase stuck with me. If he reaches out again, like we were waiting for something inevitable. Rena deleted all her social media the next day. Everything. Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn. I changed our passwords, installed a peephole cam, replaced the chain lock on the door with a metal bolt that cost too much. It wasn't enough. Every time I heard footsteps in the hallway, I froze. Every late delivery or knock made my stomach twist. We moved out 6 weeks later, broke the lease early, paid the fee. It wasn't about the apartment anymore. It was the way Rena triple-checked every window, the way I couldn't fall asleep without checking the front door 3 times. We didn't even fight about it. We just quietly agreed. The place didn't feel like ours anymore. We live on the other side of town now. Quiet street, small place, old carpet. But it feels safer. We don't order delivery anymore, ever. Rena doesn't even joke about it, and I don't push. I don't want to test the boundary we both feel but don't speak about. That guy, they never found him. Not really. No arrest, no case. Just a face in some grainy footage and a list of unanswered questions. I still wonder what his plan was. Was it revenge? Curiosity? A moment of obsession that got out of hand? Or had he done this before? Sometimes I wish he'd taken something. A laptop, a wallet, something I could point to and say, that's why. But instead he left behind something worse. The fact that we invited him in. Because I did. I opened the door. I let him step across the line between someone you vaguely recognize and someone who can poison your dinner. And now I carry that choice like a bruise no one can see. Trust is easy to give in small moments, but it only takes one wrong one to lose everything. Not all danger wears a mask. Sometimes it just wears a name tag. I was halfway through my Baconator in the car when I realized how quiet everything had gotten. Friday dinner rush at this Wendy's on 14th Street, Kansas City. The drive-in was clogged, the register inside buzzing like a beehive, but out here in the back lot, a single flickering bulb near the dumpster and wind carrying soft summer nights static from the drive-through speaker. I chose this spot on purpose. Plain clothes, badge tucked under my jacket. Unpaid leave after I blew the whistle on Harding's excessive force. Quiet felt good. Then I heard it. A girl's voice, soft but tense. I said no. Back off. Words didn't carry far, but enough. I got out, folding my jacket over my arm so my badge wouldn't flash. As I rounded the lot, 4 teenage boys in hoodies circled a girl near the back wall. She looked maybe 16, clutching her phone like a lifeline. One of the guys had his hand on her shoulder. "Hey," I called out, stepping forward. "Everything okay?" They froze. One kid gave me a half smile. "We're just talking." I crouched to speak to her at eye level. "You okay?" She stared down at her phone. I nodded to the boys. "Back up, guys." They shuffled, leaning into each other like they were waiting for my next move. I looked at the girl. "Let's get you somewhere safe." She stiffened, then nodded once. She slid into the passenger seat. I locked the doors. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice shook. I flicked on the dome light, enough so she wouldn't feel anonymous in the dark. "Want to tell me what happened?" She sighed. "They followed me from the bus stop, across half the city. I told my counselor, but nobody did anything. This is the second time." My stomach sank. I reached for my phone. "I'll report this." She nodded, squeezing her phone. Before I could dial dispatch, I heard footsteps behind me. One kid leaning against the car, brandishing a phone. "I'm calling my dad." His voice cracked. "Is he?" "A ranking brass in KCPD," he said, face pale under the stroller light. We both froze. Uniformed officers showed up 5 minutes later. I told dispatch I was Officer Ridge, on leave, trying to help. The boys claimed they were just walking through. Girl confirmed they threatened her. They asked if she wanted to press charges. She looked at me, unsure, didn't look at them. They took statements, and then one of the boys' fathers arrived. Lieutenant, Harding's protege, ironically. He spoke quietly in a corner. I saw the processing detective nod once. Then the boys were released to their dads. No arrests. My report went into the system, coded as unfounded. I watched the girl transfer schools the next week. I tried contacting her counselor. They never replied. I still come here sometimes. Wendy's back lot, late evening. I don't wear the uniform, but I keep my badge in the glove box. It's easier this way. I order a Baconator, step outside to the same flicker-lit corner, wondering if I could have done more. Told her to press charges, demanded an officer hold them, not let them walk free. I'm learning that it's not always the badge that makes you feel safe. It's the silence afterward. What gets buried, what nobody asks about later. That's the real mess. Sometimes doing the right thing isn't enough. Silence from the people around you can be the heaviest kind of violence. I hadn't meant to be out that late. It was supposed to be a short visit, 3 hours tops, but Mom had needed help setting up her new phone. Then we got into a talk about bills and her knees, and suddenly it was after 9, and I still had a 3-hour drive ahead of me. Somewhere past Lebanon, my stomach started to tighten. I hadn't eaten all day except for a protein bar around noon. I stopped for gas outside Marshfield and saw Wendy's sign just before getting back on the ramp. I don't usually stop that late, but the place looked open, literature familiar. It was 11:15 when I pulled into the lot. Only a couple of cars were there. 2 semis parked far off toward the edge, and an older silver Nissan a few spots from mine. I ordered a chicken sandwich and a sweet tea. Inside, it was sterile and humming. That cold, bright kind of late-night lighting that makes everything feel like a hospital waiting room. A guy sat 2 tables over alone. Looked about mid-30s, maybe older. Long denim jacket. Shaggy hair that fell just above his eyes. I only noticed him because he didn't stop looking at me. Not glaring, not smiling, just watching. He was eating like someone who didn't care about the food. Slow, absent-minded bites like his mouth was on autopilot. I pretended not to notice. Faked some texts, scrolled aimlessly. Ate quicker than usual. Every time I glanced up, still watching. When I tossed my tray, I felt his gaze follow me all the way to the door. I walked fast. Got in my car, locked it, reversed. His Nissan didn't move. I took a breath, told myself I was overreacting, pulled onto the highway. 2 minutes later, I saw the headlights. Same car, same dents along the passenger door. I kept driving, told myself maybe it was a coincidence, someone headed in the same direction. I switched lanes. He switched lanes. I slowed. He slowed too. My heart was thudding by then. I cracked the window, hoping fresh air would settle me. My mouth had gone dry. I checked the rear view again. Still there. Same distance. Too close for comfort. Too far to see his face. I took the next exit without signaling. It led to a dead strip mall, the kind with a payday loan place and a vape shop that closed before dark. Just beyond it was a 24-hour pharmacy. It had big floodlights in the lot. I pulled in fast, parked directly under the brightest one, engine still running. The Nissan coasted past the lot, then slowed. He didn't turn in, just crawled along the shoulder for about 30 seconds. Watching, probably, then picked up speed again. I didn't move. Called the police. My voice sounded weird, like it wasn't mine. I explained what happened. They said they'd send someone by. It took 12 minutes. I counted every one. By the time the cruiser arrived, the car was long gone. The officer was kind, young, said maybe it was someone just heading the same way. But when I described the napkin part, which I hadn't found yet, but somehow already feared, he looked uneasy. They made a report, said to call if I noticed anything else strange. He asked if I wanted someone to follow me home. I said no. I already felt like I'd asked for too much. I drove the last hour with the windows cracked and music off, just the sound of tires on road and my own breath. I didn't sleep well. I kept checking the front blinds every time headlights passed the house. Even the neighbors' car doors made me flinch. I didn't tell my roommate the full story until the next morning, when I sat at the kitchen table holding my phone like it was a weapon. She was the one who found it. I heard her call out from the driveway. "Mel?" She held up a napkin, folded, neat, pulled from underneath the driver's seat. There was handwriting on it, light, faint, like whoever wrote it didn't want to press too hard. "I liked your perfume. You shouldn't be alone this late." That's all it said. We stared at it for a long time. I don't remember breathing. I filed another report that afternoon. I don't think they ever followed up. A few weeks later, I changed my plates. New registration, new state tags. I didn't want to be easy to find. I stopped taking night drives. I scheduled everything earlier, even if it meant leaving a half day early from work or skipping things I cared about. I stopped using location tags on social, made my profiles private, blocked anyone I didn't recognize. I still pass Wendy's signs sometimes, on long drives or when I'm back visiting Mom. The big red logo with the pigtails. It used to remind me of being a kid, of drive-through nights with fries in the back seat. Now it just makes my stomach tighten. It's strange how a paper napkin, a look, a few bad minutes can reshape the way you move through the world. Not with panic, but with a kind of permanent alertness. A part of me always scanning, wondering what I can't see yet. We teach women to be polite before we teach them to be safe, and that's where the danger slips in. My first week at Wendy's felt like a lucky break. Northport's only fast food gig I could afford after community college, just enough to cover rent and a little pocket money. I clocked in, took fries out of the fryer, cleaned tables, and smiled when regulars said thanks. I liked the routine. Frank was shift manager, older guy, friendly sort of dad vibe. But after the first couple of shifts, his jokes changed tone. He'd walk by the counter, call me Sunshine, always in that sing-song voice. I'd smile politely, brush it off. Thanks, Frank. Only I didn't like it. At all. He blocked my way to the supply closet one afternoon, pointing at the camera. Don't worry, smile first, right? I laughed to diffuse it. Frank winked. I noted it in my phone later. Frank blocked doorway, said smile first. It felt ridiculous to log, but something didn't sit right. A few days later, he'd tell me I was too pretty to be hiding behind a headset while setting up timers. My face flushed. I said, "Can you please just call me Talia?" He shrugged it off, made another joke. These moments piled. Each felt small, but together, they got sticky. I didn't want to be that person, but I emailed HR the next morning. I laid it out. Dates, times, exact phrasing. I waited. A few hours later, they responded, "We'll look into it. Thank you." At first, I felt better. Someone listened. 2 days after that, I walked into work and froze. The locker with my name tag was ripped open. My bag was scattered. My name tag gone. I pulled up the Shift app. My profile was gone, schedule deleted. I tried other apps, same. I asked a coworker. She shrugged. Frank said you quit. That moment cracked something inside me. I texted HR immediately. Please explain. I have not quit. I called from the back office. I messaged the main HR email. Email RID receipts showed messages opened, but no response. I waited by the locker room door every morning. No one said anything. At home later that night, I paced my room. I logged every detail into a Google Doc. Files showing who opened my messages. Timestamps. My roommate asked if I'd go back to Wendy's. I said I didn't know. I couldn't face Frank again. Or worse, walk in and have people pretend I'd resigned. 2 weeks later, my roommate looked up from her phone. "Did you post this?" She pointed to a Craigslist link I'd never seen. Young woman looking for casual companionship. But I didn't post it. I stared. My stomach flipped. My roommate called me lawyer. We called the cops. By the time we showed them the Craigslist page, someone had clicked, but nobody answered the phone. Detectives said no owner info, no IP trace. We filed, but got no solid leads. I started applying everywhere. Coffee shops, tutoring centers, retail jobs. I needed to move. On my last shift at Wendy's, I never officially left. I just didn't show up. I gave HR my exit paperwork up front for unemployment. I changed banks, got a new phone number, deactivated social media, shared my new number only with family. Even now, I check Craigslist. Sometimes someone uses my old number, sometimes it's gone. Either way, every time it shows back up, my chest tightens. Whoever did this might do it again, to me or someone else. Like they know it's easy, a name, a shift, a stolen identity. I never went back, not even for a burger. I changed cities, switched my major, moved into a new apartment 5 states away, safe from Frank, from fake ads, from feeling like a ghost. Harassment isn't just comments, it's about control. And when you try to stop it, sometimes the blowback is invisible but no less real. Speaking up is brave, but it doesn't always protect you. Systems fail, and silence can hurt as much as the offense. I arrived during a heat wave, the kind that feels sticky even before you get out of the car. My first night in Lubbock, my new hometown, kind host family. Everything felt whispered and soft around me. I'd flown in for orientation at West Texas University, stayed with a family I'd never met. My host mom was kind, worried I might miss home food. Her teenage son Zane was polite, steady-eyed, gap-toothed smile that seemed easy. That night I felt brave enough to go out. A quick drive to the edge of town for burgers where the AC buzzed too loud, and we talked about campus life and classes I'd taken. Zane paid and slid into the driver's seat. I felt grateful, stuck in the back seat by habit, still feeling shy. I told myself I was just getting to know a new person. He said sweet things like, "Don't worry, I've got you," as he reversed out the lot. The night seemed normal, until he turned south instead of north. I looked at my phone screen. We were passing 2 exits, heading down a service road covered in gravel and tumbleweeds, toward dust and silence. My pulse ticked up. I told him apologies. I just didn't feel good enough to talk. He laughed it off. "Think it's a shortcut for fresh air," he said, glancing at me from the corner of his eye. Then he pulled onto a shoulder near a grain elevator, tall, rusted, hollow. He didn't stop talking. He asked if I had a boyfriend. I froze. I had plans back home, but it felt stupid to lie. I went quiet instead. He pulled the car to a silent stop. He laughed quietly. I told him I felt carsick. I sounded breathless, maybe guilty. He said okay, and we went home 5 minutes later, the longest 5 minutes of my life. Back in the house, the lights were dim. Mom was signing forms, eyes glued to the paper. Zane said goodnight like nothing had changed. I stood in the kitchen, breathing too hard, trying not to cry. I said something about paperwork, turned my room light off early. Later, I messaged my brother, change of plans. I'm switching housing. He replied fast with heart emojis and, "You good?" I wrote. I didn't feel safe and didn't think he'd ask more. That night I lay awake, heartbeat echoing. I wasn't sure if it had been a crime, but I was sure I didn't want to stay. Next day, I walked into the university housing office, said, "I need my own dorm assignment." The person behind the counter nodded, took my file without asking why. I stuck to, "I don't feel safe." No forms, no police, no drama. They changed my room, but no file was ever made, no record. Nobody asked again. Over the semester, I'd see Zane walking across campus. Sometimes he'd smile and wave, a small wave, internal and slow. His eyes never reached mine. I kept my eyes on my phone, pretended I didn't see. I told myself not to be rude, but I couldn't wave back. Not after that wrong turn. Not after the grain elevator. I couldn't prove what happened. I didn't press it. I didn't tell anyone except my brother and housing. I thought about reporting it, but who would believe an exchange student whose only proof was a gut feeling and a wrong turn? I didn't have a text trail, no messages, nothing but dread. Passers-by would look at Zane and say, "Oh, he's so polite." They'd say that to me too, kind, respectful, helpful. I always knew better. I'd walk past him now, giving space. I avoided the neighbor's house when I passed it for orientation events, scenes I couldn't see again. Late nights, the road behind the university looks like gold from headlights. There's a stretch of service road still unmapped on Google. I drive our car on those, think, I'm not stuck, but I also know how small the world is, how short a ride from safety to fear. Sometimes I wonder if he remembers that night too. Does he think about me? Does he care? I don't want attention. I don't need justice, not loud noise. I just wanted to feel safer. Now I always pull the door lock. I always sit in the front seat. And when someone offers me a drive after dinner, I say no. That wrong turn changed me. I'm not broken. I'm different. And that's okay. No proof, no case. Doesn't mean it didn't matter. Our instincts are real, and sometimes your dignity lies in walking away, even when nobody else sees the danger. I'm not the type to complain. I don't have time for that. Between cleaning offices all morning and folding laundry at the nursing home at night, I barely have time to breathe, let alone get into it with some kid over fast food. But that Thursday, it stuck with me. It was one of those days where everything ran behind. Traffic was crawling, my youngest had a rash, and my oldest had cried at daycare because someone broke her lunchbox. By 6 p.m., I was exhausted. Thursdays, we do Wendy's. Not fancy, just a small treat so I don't feel like a bad mom for feeding them cereal 3 nights a week. I ordered on the app from the car, just like always. Chicken nuggets for the girls, a junior, bacon for me. $22.14 already taken out of my bank app. I remember the exact number. That's how tight things are. I pull up to the window, phone ready. The kid behind the counter looks confused, says my name's not on the list. I show him the receipt. He disappears for a bit. Then it just spirals. 10, maybe 15 minutes go by. My baby starts wailing. Bottle hits the floor. The toddler keeps saying she's hungry. Finally, a manager comes out. Big guy, headset slung low. "There's no order," he says. "Maybe it didn't go through." I show the receipt again. "I got charged." "Look," he squints, shrugs. "Can't give out free food. You can call corporate." That's when I felt my face go hot, not just from the embarrassment, from knowing what this meant. I didn't move. I sat there, foot on the brake, hazard lights blinking. I wasn't trying to make a scene, but I also wasn't leaving. My girls were crying in the back, and I just sat there holding my phone like it was supposed to protect me. Cars started honking behind me. Staff closed the window like I was invisible. I called customer service in the parking lot. They said they'd escalate it. I tweeted too, not that I have followers or anything, but it felt like yelling into a void. I took screenshots of everything. I went home and made toast with peanut butter and a banana split between the girls. I didn't eat, couldn't. I checked my bank app that night, 2 charges, same Wendy's, same time. I called again, waited on hold for almost an hour, then got cut off. No resolution, just the automated voice saying, "Your call is important to us." That next Monday, my landlord slipped a note under the door. Rent late. $45 late fee added. I was already short. Now I was scrambling, skipping meals again, holding back the last of my SNAP balance to stretch the kids' cereal. It's amazing how small a number can be and still matter so much. I used my last bit of data to email Wendy's again. Nothing. A week later, I got a letter in the mail. Plain white envelope. No return address except for guest relations. Inside was a $10 gift card. No apology, no explanation. Just a stock message. "Thanks for being a valued customer. We appreciate your loyalty." Loyalty? I gave them patience, time, documentation, and they sent me a plastic card worth half a meal and a smiley face at the bottom of the note. I threw it in the trash. I stopped going to Wendy's. Just like that. Cold turkey. Not out of protest or spite, but because I realized what happened wasn't about a sandwich. It was about the way they looked at me, like I didn't matter. Like being calm and polite made me easier to dismiss. If I had yelled, thrown something, made a scene, maybe I would have gotten my food. But instead, I left hungry. Twice charged. And ignored. You don't forget that. Now, when the girls ask for Wendy's, I just say, "We'll get something else." I don't explain. I just quietly take a different street on Thursdays. It's strange what gets stuck in your head. Not the meal, not even the money, but the way someone can shrug off your voice because they think no one will hear you anyway. Being poor doesn't mean you owe anyone your dignity. Systems fail people not with loud rejections, but with quiet disregard. And respect shouldn't cost $22.14. I'd been working at Wendy's for a few weeks when Marcus first pulled me aside. I was stacking napkins and scanning receipts in the lull after the lunch rush, kids playing on whiteboards, the smell of fryer grease thick in the air, floor cleaner scent lingering. Marcus hovered nearby, arms crossed, that confident half-smile of his. "Kid, you up for a quick favor?" he said. My stomach clenched a little. He always called me kid or rookie, and it stung more than he could know. I forced a smile. "Sure, Marcus." He led me to the dim office behind the freezer, a single flickering bulb. He handed me a plain white gift card with no logo. "Corporate gave this to us to run a system test. Load $100, ring up an inventory guy I'm expecting." "How do I?" "Just follow the prompts. Scan, load, done." He waved toward the register. "Then you hand it to my guy. Don't overthink it, rookie." It felt weird, but he sounded so sure. I scanned the card, punched in $100, watched it go through. I took the card out and stepped aside. A tall man in a hoodie walked in like clockwork. No greeting, no eye contact. I handed him the card. He nodded and left. That was it. 3 days later, Marcus sent me to the office again. Only this time, the general manager sat behind the desk with 2 printed spreadsheets. "Kayla, we need to talk. Someone loaded a gift card for $100 not attached to any sale. Marcus says he never authorized it." My heart dropped. I did it, but Marcus asked me to." The general manager rubbed his temples. "The security camera at the register was flagged offline that day. No footage." Marcus was quiet, arms folded. I explained everything, his instructions, the hoodie guy, the exact time. The manager's face went blank. "Why involve a minor?" Marcus asked, voice smooth. "I've tasked her with legitimate work." I left the office confused and scared. Suspended pending investigation. Message from my parents came through fast. I was beyond nervous. For 2 weeks I went through question after question. HR interviews, my mom by my side, late-night phone calls tracing every step that day. Marcus dropped by the register like nothing happened. I pulled my apron tighter. My confidence started unraveling. I watched co-workers side-eye me, whispering. Then one afternoon, HR called. "You're cleared. We verified timestamps, interviews, and even tracked the gift card's ID back to the hoodie guy, not store inventory. You can return Monday." Relief washed over me like icy rain, but it came with a price. Monday morning felt hollow. I walked in. Manager smiled. Co-workers nodded politely. But I felt exposed. Everything changed. Every smile felt hollow. I'd trusted the process, that I belonged. Now I didn't. I earned a few shifts, then quit quietly a month later. I found a retail job at a bookstore, calmer, more respectful. From time to time I hear rumors through old friends at Wendy's. Marcus's new system tests are hitting someone else. It makes me sick. How many rookies don't push back? How many get stuck in corners afraid they'll lose everything for asking questions? I still drive past that Wendy's sometimes. I don't think I'll ever go back, not even as a customer. It's not the food. It's what happened behind the counter, the way he used trust and authority against someone younger and careful. Authority is not always just. Sometimes it's a test you didn't sign up for. Speaking up might feel costly, but staying silent costs more in the end. I've never liked dressing up. Not because I hate looking clean, I do all right in a mirror. It's more about what dressing up means when you're broke. When you've been out of work for 3 months, ironing a button-down shirt feels like lying to yourself. Like pretending you're still someone a manager might want to shake hands with. But that Tuesday morning, I did it anyway. The call came around 9 a.m., 661 number. Female voice, friendly but quick. "Hi, is this Derek Porter? This is Michelle from Wendy's on Carson Avenue. We reviewed your application. Can you come in for a 10:30 interview today?" My heart lifted like it hadn't in weeks. I thanked her, scribbled the address and time, grabbed my resume, and caught the number. 28th bus. I even skipped breakfast to afford the fare. I got to the Wendy's by 10:05. The place was nearly empty, Just one older couple near the window and a college kid with headphones at a corner table. It smelled like floor cleaner and fries. I sat near the back, straightening the edges of my resume every 2 minutes. Tried not to look too eager, but every second stretched longer. At 10:40, I stood and walked to the counter. The girl at the register, probably no older than 18, looked confused when I asked about the interview. "I don't think we're doing interviews today," she said. "Someone called me this morning." "Michelle?" She shrugged. Went to the back. A few minutes later, a guy in a red Wendy's polo, the store manager, came out. He looked tired, like he'd just been told his break got cut. "You're here for what now?" I repeated what I'd been told. He shook his head. "Nobody named Michelle works here, and I didn't call anybody today. Sorry, man." Just like that, my stomach bottomed out. The bus ride home felt longer, hotter. I stared out the window the whole way, arms folded, heartbeat still high like I'd just escaped something. Back in my apartment, I tossed the resume onto the table and slumped into the couch. I didn't even have the energy to cuss. I called Alina around 6 o'clock, straight to voicemail. I texted instead, "Hey, did your cousin start working at Wendy's?" I wasn't sure why I even thought to ask. Maybe it was instinct. Or maybe it was the familiar sting of being played with. The feeling that someone was watching, waiting for me to react. No reply that night. The next morning came and went. It wasn't until Thursday that she called. Quiet voice. Hesitant. I stepped out onto the porch just to get some air while I answered. "Derek." I didn't know he'd actually go through with it. My stomach clenched. I didn't say anything, just waited. "He saw your name on my old job board login. Thought it would be funny. I told him to stop. It wasn't my idea, I swear." I exhaled hard through my nose. My hand shook even though I wasn't mad, just tired. Tired of being a punchline. "Don't call me again," I said, and hung up. The worst part wasn't the prank. It was how easily I believed it. How I still put on the nice shirt, still printed the resume, still hoped. I kept thinking about the girl at the counter, the manager's blank face, wondering if they'd laughed once I left. Maybe not out loud, but silently, the kind that sticks with you longer. By Friday, I started applying again. I didn't want to, but rent didn't care about feelings. I logged onto Indeed with a new email. I updated my phone number. Removed references tied to the old job board where Alina still had access. One job at a time. Grocery store. Janitorial work. A few third shift things that didn't look awful. I never talked about the fake interview again. Not to my parents, not to friends. What was I gonna say? That someone thought I was worth screwing with, just for sport. 2 weeks later, I got hired part-time at a car wash on Maple. Not great pay, but decent hours. The guy who interviewed me didn't look at my resume for longer than 10 seconds. He just asked if I could show up on time and lift buckets. You work, you stay. You mess around, you're gone. Simple. Honest. A few co-workers were solid guys. A couple were bitter, older, never smiled. Still, it felt better than Wendy's. One day I passed that same Wendy's on the way to work. Thought about stopping in, maybe just for a soda. I pulled into the parking lot, stared at the building for a few minutes. Then I turned the car back on and left. Didn't owe anyone my money, or my presence. Dignity isn't something people can hand you, but it's definitely something they'll try to take. The world has a cruel way of testing what you're made of, even when you're already down. But the real test isn't in how you're treated, it's in how you decide to keep going anyway. I left the group study around 9:45 p.m., stumbling out of the campus library with flashcards in hand and a craving for something warm and salty. My stomach was growling louder than the fluorescent lights overhead. Wendy's at Alderbrook Mall was only a 5-minute walk away, and open. Classic move. Caffeine, carbs, and a solo booth in the corner where nobody knew you. When I slid into the booth at 10:05 p.m., I plugged in my earbuds and scrolled through TikToks while waiting for my usual order, junior bacon cheeseburger, small fries, unsweetened iced tea. I was in my own world until I noticed the counter go quieter. I lifted an earbud and looked up. The night shift guy, maybe late 20s, dark hair under the visor, was standing idle. Not just standing, staring in my direction. It made me pause, but I thought, everybody's bored at this hour. I slipped my earbuds back in and picked at a curly fry. Finished eating, I tossed the tray and stepped outside into the cool night. My car was at the far end of the lot. Nice quiet stretch with trees behind it and an alley dark as a cave. At 10:20, the lot was basically empty, just a stray sedan in a corner. I unlocked my car and slid in. As I backed out, I caught movement behind me in the mirror. That sedan inching forward as if zoning on me. I felt my stomach clench. That shouldn't be here. I turned right. It followed. I turned again down a residential street, same. My pulse thudded like a drum in my ears. I accelerated through the neighborhood, breathing hard. I looped the block once more, and the car followed like a shadow. That's when I started to panic. I pulled into the well-lit Walgreens parking lot at the end of the block, spinning under the bright pharmacy lights. I locked the doors and called my dad. My voice shook. "Dad, someone's following me." He told me to stay in the car, stay on the line, and wait. The lights overhead buzzed. The sedan slowed down at the entrance, idled for a moment, then sped off, almost like it realized I'd lost sight of it. About 10 minutes later, I saw my dad's headlights. He pulled in, honked twice, and strode over. I got out, hugging him like a lifeline, legs still shaking. We called campus security from his phone. They took notes. Plate unknown, car description minimal. Without proof, they told me they'd patrol the area. My dad drove me home. The entire ride, I stared at the rearview mirror, expecting headlights to pop up again. But nothing. I went inside, of course, locked every door and window, and slept with the light on. For a few days, things felt heavy. I avoided campus late nights, skipped a tutoring shift or two. Friends asked if I was okay. I shrugged, told them I was tired from studying. They didn't press, partly because no one could see what I did. There was no photo, no message, just my gut saying, "He's watching." A week later, I was walking back to my dorm after a tutoring session. My phone buzzed, a text from my mom about dinner I'd skipped. I looked up to respond and froze. Across the street, a dark sedan was parked under a street lamp. The same guy from the Wendy shift, the one who stared at me, stood next to the car, holding a phone to his ear but looking right at me. I almost walked into traffic when I jerked and ducked into the nearest building. My feet pounded away, my heart nearly screeched off my ribs. I called campus security, screamed at them to come right now. They showed up in minutes, which felt slow as ocean tides, but by then he was gone. I don't go to that Wendy's anymore. I've driven past, pulling onto a different exit before I see the sign. I deleted my public Instagram, started walking with friends after late studying instead of solo. I changed my tutoring schedule back home by daylight. I started carrying pepper spray. Even though none of it solves the problem, it just made me feel like I could. I'm learning that some things don't have evidence. Some fears leave no trace. Nobody else saw the car follow. Nobody else saw him stare at me or pretend to call as I walked. They can't proof anxiety or instinct, or the moment when something inside you says, "That's not okay." Each time I recall those parking lot reflections, I relive it. My heartbeat still stumbles. I know nothing happened, no physical harm, but that stalking, that presence, unnamed, unseen, it was real. Sometimes the greatest danger isn't what someone does, but what they make you feel is about to happen. You don't need proof to trust your instincts. And protecting yourself doesn't mean you're overreacting. It means you believed in your right to feel safe. I used to think I was too ordinary for drama. Just a contractor, living solo in a small Vallejo rental, clocking in 10-hour days on job sites. My evenings were predictable. Shower, grudgingly cook, or most nights grab takeout. Wendy's on Redwood Parkway was my autopilot. Dashboard glow, warm bag in hand, easy dinner without thought. That Wednesday around 7, rush hour packed the lot. I ordered online from the car, double bacon cheeseburger, large fries, sweet tea. Drove through slowly. Staff were hustling, slipping my bag into the window one hand at a time. When I got home and set the bag on the kitchen counter, I noticed something strange. Under the napkins lay a sealed white envelope. Plain, no name, folded carefully, heavier than paper. I tore it open. Inside, $200 in cash, crisp bills, stacked, and a note, typed or printed, words even cold. Next time, leave it under the register like before, no screw-ups. My pulse spiked. Screw-ups. I'd never left money anywhere at Wendy's before. My mind clutched at possibilities. Wrong bag? Some internal mess? Or was this a message? I checked the receipt. My name, my card, the right order. I hadn't forgotten money or duty. This bag was mine. I called the store within 20 minutes. The manager answered, "Yes, sir?" I found something in my bag that should not be there. I explained calmly. The envelope, the cash, the note. He paused. "We don't put anything like that in bags, sir. Must be from somewhere else." The line went quiet. "I'll double check, sir." He called back 5 minutes later, apologetic but firm. Nothing. No envelopes. No extra slips of cash. The name of the crew member who took my order. He didn't have it. After I hung up, I walked through the apartment, checking locks, drawing blinds tighter, flicking off porch lights that shone on the curb. I tried to sleep but couldn't. That note had weight, not paper, but intimidation. The next evening, I heard a sharp 3 knocks at the door around dinner time. My stomach flipped. I opened the peephole. A man, mid-40s, clean-cut, pressed jeans, shirt tucked, polished shoes. Professional, maybe a company rep. "Hello, Mr. Rivera. Sorry to bother you. I'm with Wendy's distribution center. We're following up." My heart hammered. Distribution center? Like logistics. I kept the door closed. "I work closely with the stores. Any chance you received something by mistake?" I forced calm. "Nope. Didn't get anything. Didn't call. I already contacted the store." He smiled tightly. "It's just easier if I take it now." I didn't budge. He waited 10 feet back, hands folded, polite smile. I could see his eyes shifting, scanning. Cool air, tension. After over an hour, he finally left without a word. I stared from behind the door until the porch light went out. I called the police once he left. They took note, asked for description. No plate given. He'd parked across the street just out of sight. They took the envelope and note from me. My statement was taken. Time. Description. The man. "We'll look into it," they said. I didn't sleep much that night. For a week, every vehicle that slowed near the curb made me tense. Every unfamiliar engine. I tried carrying pepper spray, walked with purpose, tried acting normal at home. But I couldn't shake the question, was this a mistake or something meant for someone else? And I got dragged in. What happens if they come back? What if it's not about cash, but about threats or bribes and who it was supposed to go to? The unease overflowed. I couldn't work the same fast food runs. Going to Wendy's felt like standing in a store of people who knew something I didn't. A few days later, I moved, packed my tools, found a smaller rental across town, no shared walls, better lighting. I changed my license plate, moved utilities. I don't drive down Redwood Parkway anymore. I avoid the fast food stretch. Life is quieter. I sleep better with blackout curtains. I still see the cash sometimes. Yellow paper, crease marks. It haunts me. One morning I went through the envelope again. There's no signature, no name, just instruction. All I know is someone trusted me with a message too heavy to carry. You don't have to be involved in something to get caught in it. Sometimes the coldest threats aren't shouted, but slipped quietly into your world, just enough to scare you into moving on.